They've certainly been on our minds all day and will continue to be on our minds. My name is Kara Madden. I'm the Education USA advisor at the Fulbright Commission here in Spain. So I wear two hats. I work for Education USA, which is a State Department funded initiative to promote education at the university level in the United States abroad. The goal being to get as many students from our respective countries, in this case Spain, to study abroad in the United States on some level, whether it be their entire undergraduate career, whether it be a study abroad like you guys are doing here, but in the United States, or a master's degree, a doctorate degree, and then that's where Fulbright comes in, because Fulbright funds graduate study for Spaniards wanting to go to the United States and for Americans who want to go abroad. You would be excellent candidates to be future Fulbrighters in Spain or in other countries. Fulbright exists in, I don't know, I should know, but I don't know how many countries. A lot, basically everywhere. I just saw on the website yesterday that there's a new program even in Turkmenistan. So really the sky's the limit. You have a lot of options, and later on I'll show you a website where you can go to get information on which Fulbright grants are out there for people like you who have this awakened interest now in international careers and international experiences. But I've been asked to talk a little bit about my own experience, just to kind of, I think, demonstrate how study abroad and intercultural competencies can actually sort of be linked together to form this amazing chain link that will link you to other people, other cultures, other experiences, if you're willing to follow where that link and that chain lead. Okay, so I'll start by, I don't know, I have so many ideas in my head, because after listening to Almendra speak, I mean, on the way over here, so many of the things that I was thinking about, oh, Kara, you have to make sure that you really let them know that they have to bring the skills that they're learning on this study abroad experience to life later on in their other experiences, whether it be applying for a Fulbright grant, which I hope you do, or whether it be applying for your first job. How many of you, what are you guys studying? How many are business majors? Okay, a few. How many are Spanish or humanities or arts and sciences majors? Okay, most of you. So one thing that's kind of been on my mind a lot lately, and this is just a short sidetrack before we move on, is that we, people like us, and even the business majors, but people who have studied humanities, liberal arts, need to be very effective when it comes time to do the job hunt, to let employers or possible employers know what our education has taught us to do. And I tell you this because I was at a basketball game at my alma mater. I went to St. Louis University and I studied history and French. And I met my husband there, who's from Spain, and he studied finance. And we were back in the States for Christmas vacation a couple of years ago, and we brought our sons to see a basketball game on campus. So after the basketball game, for kicks, we were driving around the old neighborhood and looking at campus, and my sons were pretty impressed. They were like, wow, I want to come here, you know? And I was like, great, okay. And then they said, well, Daddy, what did you study here? And he says, finance. And my son gives an approving nod and says, mm-hmm. He was probably 9 at the time, or maybe 8. And then he says, well, what about you, Mommy? What did you study? And I said, history and French literature. Silence from the back seat. Complete silence. And he says, no, I mean for work. And I was like, oh my gosh, even an 8-year-old thinks that French literature and history have no applicable job skills. So it was a big wake-up call. And he says, well, what do you learn? when you study, what do you learn for work when you study French literature and history? So I started explaining to him, well, you have actually really excellent analytical skills, you have excellent communication skills, you have research skills, you have all kinds of things that you learn how to do from a liberal arts education. So spread the word to your future employers when you go on job interviews. Make sure I would really love to see you send that skills-based resume to future employers, because I think that it's so relevant in today's world with this crisis and with everybody thinking that they have to study a certain thing, a certain major to be successful. I'd love to see you prove them wrong and show them that that's just not the case, that you have so many marketable skills that you've picked up, not only as liberal arts majors or as humanities majors, but also as people who have had this intercultural experience. So, like this week, I was also talking to somebody, a Spaniard who's wanting to go to study in the United States for their undergraduate degree. Well, I advised this person, because that's my role, is to help them apply to universities, kind of like a guidance counselor. And this kid has a lot of talent. He paints, he writes, and all the several meetings that I had with him in emails, essays, it's all, I want to study English literature in the US. And I said, fantastic, it's definitely what he wants to do, and he has the qualifications and talent for it. So we were talking about it. Well, as you know, it wasn't that long ago that April was decision time, and all of the universities are sending back admission letters, or unfortunately in some cases rejection letters. And this particular student, though very talented, got into some really excellent universities, didn't get into some other excellent universities, and all of a sudden the parents are in and they want to know, well, how good is this one university in New York? And I said, oh, it's a really excellent university. I think everybody knows its name, and worldwide I'm sure it'll be very reputable. Yeah, and how good is it in economics? And they say, who's studying economics? I said, we've been talking about English literature and maybe even painting all this time. I said, economics? Do you have another son? And they're like, no, but he has to get a job. So I'm in this position where I'm defending constantly the value of a U.S. liberal arts education in an environment that is hostile to making this kind of decision. It's an environment that doesn't encourage kids to go after what they really want. And so I want to encourage you to go after what you really want, because I think that you have the luxury of coming from a background and a mentality that does prize that and that rewards that. So now that I've mentioned that, just going back to, now that we all know that we're going to sell our skills, we're going to market ourselves, we're going to make sure that our future employers know what our experiences have brought to us. It's also time to think about, well, okay, these experiences have made me better at presenting, or they've made me better at designing social media strategy, or they've made me better at communicating and writing through my blog, or people skills. All of these soft skills that you've acquired, you also have to be able to talk about how you can transfer those skills to what the company is looking for, or to what the grant program to which you apply is looking for. So I love Almindra's suggestion to look at the list of skills and match your experiences to skills. It's a lot like applying to college, only it's better, really, because not only do you have to put it all down on paper, but then you actually maybe get to talk to somebody about it. But you want to make sure that you get that interview. So you want to make sure that you are successful in your resume in bringing your experiences to life on paper. I can't tell you how many resumes I've read that I don't really understand. And what I mean by that is that I read it and there's words on the paper, but I don't really know what each of these experiences has meant for the person, or what it's brought them. So there are so many times when we misunderstand and we think that somebody's done a certain thing, and then when they get in there, if they're lucky enough to get in there, for the person or what it's brought them. So there are so many times when we misunderstand and we think that somebody's done a certain thing, and then when they get in there, if they're lucky enough to get in there, then maybe you get a better understanding. So try to be as effective as possible, I guess, in your word choice on your resume, as Amendra already mentioned earlier. But now, going back to the experiences, okay, so I started in international education sort of by accident. When I was in university, I mean, I always knew I was going to study abroad, even in high school. I knew I was going to go to France, and I loved French, and I was going to maybe even go live in France, and maybe I was even going to be a diplomat to France. I don't know. I just definitely was going to go. And so this was something that I did plan for and intend to do for several years. And then when I got to university, all of a sudden we had a campus where there was a large Spanish population, because St. Louis University, you may know it, has a campus here in Madrid. And at the time, in the 90s, maybe 400 Spaniards were going to St. Louis, Missouri every semester to finish their education there. And so when I got on campus and I met all these Spanish people, I was like, wow, where are they from? You know, and all of a sudden Spain got on my radar. And then I started learning Spanish. I kept up with French, and I still studied abroad in France, but I kept up with Spanish and learned Spanish and made a lot of friends. And so then all of a sudden, okay, France, I still wanted to do it, and I did, but it wasn't the experience that I had expected, because I think my priorities had shifted a little bit already. And when I came back to campus, I was hired as a work study student in the International Admissions Office. And that was really fabulous, because I got to meet international students who were interested in coming to St. Louis University, and I got to help them apply. And this was something that was really, really fantastic. And it led to another opportunity, which was to stay on after I graduated and be an international student advisor. So basically programming and welcoming international students to the United States, kids who had never been to the US before anymore. And I knew that French would be a more marketable skill in Spain than Spanish, because you have to speak Spanish to get by here, but it wasn't going to give me a leg up. It wasn't going to distinguish me from anybody else. So I decided to do a master's degree in French, where I got teaching experience. I knew I wasn't going to be a teacher. I knew I wasn't going to do a doctorate in French literature, but I did it anyway, because I knew that it was going to bring me the experience, first of all, to strengthen my French. It was going to give me the experience of teaching in a classroom, leading my own class, and it was going to give me experience in basically, give me a little bit more authority, let's say. When I went out to look for jobs, then having a master's degree is not the same as a bachelor's degree. So I decided to do that, and I stayed, and I was a TA, and at the same time I was working as international student advisor. And so when I finally did come to Spain, at first there were really no jobs available in international education, but I did go ahead and send my resume anyway to St. Louis University's Madrid campus in the hopes that someday they might need somebody. And in the meantime, I just kept looking for other opportunities, and I was about to accept a job in marketing, of all things, at Continental Airlines. When I did get out of the blue a call from St. Louis University Madrid campus, and I think partly because I might have put somebody as a reference on my resume that worked at the campus, and I think that might have sparked them, oh, she might have another job offer, and we're interested in her, so we better call her too. So, you know, sometimes references can be good, because they can also help show that there's interest, okay, in the kind of skills and profile that you have to offer. And so I was about to take the job at Continental, and I got the job offer from St. Louis University Madrid campus, and it was fantastic, because precisely what I had hoped was that distinguishing myself by getting the master's degree in French, I was then more marketable because, as it turned out, the international, and it was a perfect opportunity to hone those intercultural communication skills. But just having had them in the first place through the study abroad opportunities, by the time I had that job, I had studied abroad on 3 occasions. I had studied abroad for 1 summer here in Madrid, I had studied abroad in France for 1 semester, and I had studied abroad for a summer in Quebec. And so just to show that you have this kind of initiative, I think, for employers is really, it's rewarded when you show it. So another great suggestion that Almendra had was to put your life experiences down. You can't assume that they know what you've done. Did you have something? Should I wrap it up? Okay. So basically, I was just trying to encourage you to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves, even if you think at some point, I mean, like I said, I was a TA, even though I knew I wasn't going to do a doctorate in French. I knew that I wasn't going to be a teacher, but I wanted to have the experience, not only to put it on my resume, but to know what I could learn from it. So I think if you go into your experiences saying, okay, what can I learn from this? And then when the experience is over, what did I learn from this? How am I different? So that's why I say it's kind of like college admissions, you know, those essays, and okay, how has this experience changed your life and made you a better person? And it's the same thing, but hopefully on a deeper and more practical level. Okay, so I just want to share with you a few practical resources. The Fulbright website, the Fulbright Spain website, it's fulbright.es, and there's a whole section on there for grants for US citizens. And so you can see what sort of Fulbright grants might be available if you decide that you would like to come back to Spain, or if you'd like to go to another part of the world and have another future experience as a Fulbright grantee. You can be a TA. Right here in Spain, they have a lot of auxiliares de conversación in public high schools, public Spanish high schools that are going bilingual. So that's one of the biggest grant opportunities that Americans have to come to Spain right now. But there are also regular graduate student grants. So if you want to come and do some research in Spain after you graduate from your bachelor's degree, you can do that as well. And then this is to find out more details, because our website just sort of sells it a little bit but doesn't really give all the details on applying. As Americans applying for a Fulbright grant, you would apply through an organization called the IIE, the Institute for International Education, and the IIE runs this website. It's iie.org, and then you can click on Fulbright program, and then you can click on countries, as you can see up there at the top. And if you go to countries and you choose Europe and Eurasia, you'll come across Spain, and you can see the offerings. So we have 24 Fulbright graduate student grants, 41 teaching assistantships in Madrid, 17 in Cantabria, 2 in Valencia, another 10 in Cantabria, an international MBA for those few who were business students. There's an opportunity to come back and do an MBA at the Instituto de Empresa here in Spain, in Madrid, and Masters in Journalism and International Management. Okay. And just so you know, you have all kinds of guidance sessions, campus events. So one of the best things to do is to seek out your Fulbright advisor on your home campus, because that person does exist and is there to support people who would like to apply for Fulbright grants. So I would try to check out getting an appointment with that person first. But if your college doesn't have that, you can go to guidance sessions in different cities throughout the year. The application period is quite long. It starts in May and it goes until October 1st. So you have plenty of time to put an application together, but it's always great to get some information in advance. And you have webinars and workshops and information sessions and whatnot. So if you just keep looking on the IIE website, iie.org, you can get all this information for applicants in the applicants section. And those would be the links. Okay.
Does having a study abroad experience benefit to the applicants? I mean, if you have had a study abroad experience, does that that make you have more chances of getting a grant or less?
I think it certainly makes you more competitive. We've had plenty of study abroad students who have come to Spain for a semester or a summer or a year who have then come back as Fulbright TAs or graduate students. So there's definitely no hindrance of any way to repeat countries, but I think it definitely makes you more competitive in the sense that you have a better understanding of the culture, you have a better understanding of the requirements, what it takes to live here, and I think you'll be able to articulate that better on your application. So I would guess that applicants who have already been abroad are more articulate candidates, but I don't know the statistics. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to sell those soft skills to future employers and to grant programs, and to basically let everybody know that you have had this experience and that you are very marketable no matter what you decide to do, and just make sure that you take advantage of opportunities, because not everybody is as fortunate to have so many opportunities. Okay.